Hello, outsiders. Welcome to Outside the Box, Inside the Money. I'm your host, Jay Stanley, the DFS Outsider. And we're going to be talking about the Pocono Great American Getaway 400 presented by Visit PA. We're going to have 400 miles of racing on this amazing triangle shaped 2.5 mile trek. What you can expect from tonight's show is we're basically just going to break down the slate. We're going to talk a little bit about last week. I had a major sweat for, I was leading the $5 20K for first place tournament on DraftKings very late in the race. William Byron got into a little bit of trouble and faded through the field and sunk my dreams for the day. I had all the right plays. I literally was all around it. Even without that, just some of my lineups were still right in the hunt. It didn't end up being a super profitable day, made a little bit of money. But as you know, we don't care about slightly profitable. Here at the DFS Outsider, we care about one thing and one thing only, and that's taking down GPP tournaments. So, as you know, my style, I max entry a lot of times the 50 cent, $3, $1, $5 type tournaments. Might throw a couple stabs into a couple bigger ones, but generally volume, right? So I'm looking at my core plays and just unique mindset and construction, um, just the way I construct lineups. Okay, I like to leave a little money on the table. I look for leverage spots. Um, Denny Hamlin was an obvious play last week. Before Byron faded, he was not even in the lineup that I had. That was on top of leaderboard, and I sat there for quite a bit. But once we had that little brush with the wall and got into some trouble, he just went further and further back into the field. Some of my Hamlin lineups rose up, but not quite all the way to the top. But in the winning lineup for, let's say, like the 300K, I was all over those picks. Just didn't have the right combination. And it just goes to show you in DFS, once in a while, just one little silly thing can just take you from a $20,000 day down to a $20, even a loss, really. We just have to stick to our guns, all right? DFS and the DFS outsider mindset is all about opportunity, right? You got to put yourself by the way you construct your lineups. Give yourself a chance to win. That's what it takes. Okay, give yourself opportunities to win. Have opportunities that separate yourself from the field. The way we construct, we don't want to have duplicate lineups. We don't want to be splitting those lineups with everybody. So a little disappointing in the end. In fact, a lot disappointing in the end. I was super stoked and sweaty. Inside 20 laps to go, and you're sitting there for a 20K score. Pretty exciting. But I've been there. I've been on the other side of the fence. I've been close and came through at the end. It goes your way sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't. So the key is you really just got to, like I said, stick to your guns. If you want to get better at constructing DFS lineups. Now, I only cover three sports. I cover NASCAR, PGA, and of course NFL. So these three sports, I've been very successful. I'm a longtime player in the game. I've been playing fantasy sports since back in the day in the sporting news, having to call my phone bets in. So I've been doing this. I study data. I don't play cash games. I'm strictly a GPP player. So if you want to learn how to swing for the fence and just have some balls. If your idea of success is just grinding out and scrapping a little cash, play cash games, bro. Or just do what you do, and maybe you might get lucky and chop a tournament five ways with somebody else by running those optimizers and running the sim. So I'm not to say that those are not useful tools, but I use them in a different way. I kind of look at what they do and kind of try to pivot off of that and try to be different. I know you can change the parameters and your metrics and what's important and what you weight as more important, but useful. I hand build all my lineups. I like to look at the data, look at ownership, look at leverage, and go from there. So if you haven't done so already, my website is thedfsoutsider.com. For NASCAR specifically, I'm going to pull this up for you right here. Let me switch over my screen. So I do a table. So I look at where they start, their average finishing position, their laps led, their stage points, the last three races, and driver rating that you will find on drivers' averages. I basically just go through and collect all this data. But what I do is I assign points. So for first through 10th place, I give 4 points. 11 through 19, I give 3 points. 20 through 29, 2 points. And outside the top 30 or worse, I assign 1 point. And then I do obviously reversed points for starting position because you get a bonus for moving forward. If you don't know that already, you are definitely behind the game. So opportunity to for someone that starts in the rear of their field to make points by moving forward. So in other words, somebody starts at 30th, they finish in second place. You get a lot more points than you would if you're starting in 10th and finish in second place. So I weight that accordingly. And this just gives me a snapshot of kind of like, you know, who's valuable. Who I look for fours a lot here. Like, look at this. Brad Keselowski just looks like I mean, starting in the rear of the field, trouble with the qualifying. So, um, him and Bubba Wallace also starting back there. Ryan Preece starting back there. There's some guys that really interested in. So those are good ways to first look at kind of like starting points in building. So a lot of people will click Danny Hamlin's name or Kyle Larson's name or maybe Tyler Reddick's name and then build downward. I like to do it in a little bit different manner and consider different starting points um, for that. So um, let's talk Pocono. So 2.5 miles, triangular oval, got three tricky turns. Now, what really makes this a really interesting place and super challenging for the crew chief, for the guys working on the cars, the setup, the drivers, is you have three very distinct turns, all very different, modeled after different speedways. So we have turn one, modeled after Trenton Speedway. It's got 14 degrees of banking, a very heavy braking zone. Drivers attack this entry very aggressively. We can see some incidents right there, but there is passing opportunities. This is one of the most important corners, literally on the track. Turn two, the tunnel turn after Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It's only got 8 degrees of banking. It's a high commitment corner. There's very little room for error. Drivers carry a lot of speed through this corner, and if you miss your mark, your car could be in a shitboat of trouble. So turn three is modeled after the Milwaukee Mile. It's only 6 degrees of banking, the flattest corner on the track. It's critical for exit speed. It sets up the entire front straightaway, and they're going to sacrifice entry speed because they really want to get off of it because these cars can get up to 200 miles an hour on this straightaway. So, like I said, there's different lines. Guys are going to be attacking each corner differently. And the key to success here is going to be long run speed, like figuring out how to have balance in the corners, where they can gain in relation to where they lose on the track. So you're not going to see a lot of drivers gain everywhere, all over this track, every lap. You're going to see give and take, but in the grand scheme of things, are they picking up time overall as an average through the three corners? So that's kind of um, the mindset of, and it just I think it's challenging. So it's going to reward experience. It's going to reward aggressiveness without losing control. If you look at last year's race, pit strategy, gas, all that kind of stuff will possibly come into play into this race. Last year's race, just Chase Briscoe took it down. Denny Hamlin started in the pole, finished second. 7-time winner at this track. You cannot discount that. Let's be honest. I mean, that racing team is been on fire this year. They've by far been between Gibbs, the Toyotas have just looked super strong this year. Reddick with lots of wins, Hamlin right there with him, and these are basically the two main players week in and week out. You haven't seen Byron and Blaney and some of these other guys that you typically see doing super well. They're just grinding it out, trying to this new points format. I think it's just kind of changed things, and I think a lot of the teams are just scratching their heads right now. The Fords and the Chevys are just trying to figure out how to compete at this point with the Toyotas. So Danny Hamlin, man, starting on the pole, he's fast qualifying, fast in practice, coming off the win, coming off the hot streak, great here. All the signs point to Denny Hamlin. You're gonna have, if you're playing a lot of lineups, you're gonna have him in there. I mean, gonna have to have. I expect his ownership to be fairly high, even though he's starting on the pole. Um, Generally pole sitters, unless they're like a track specialist, like if you see SVG at a road course starting the pole, it's not going to really affect his ownership. It's just going to further confirm that he's the fucking man and he's the guy to beat for that week. But for this type of track, it's a spot maybe to find some leverage, right? Kyle Larson shows some speed, done well here. Or you could just fade all the front runners altogether and go with like Blaney or Elliott or Reddick or maybe one of these guys that aren't starting in the top 10. So guy that showed a lot of practice speed that didn't qualify very well would be Carson Hocevar and also Ross Chastain. Neither of these guys had great qualifying efforts, but did flash some good speed in qualifying. So interesting to see what they could do. So Suarez does also look fast. That might be a good little leverage spot. I mean, he won a few weeks back, and this could be a spot. This could be a spot that he could do it. I think there's an outside chance of that happening. So probably have some builds with him. As far as DFS goes, I mean, let's go back to the data screen here. So let's look at prices and starting position. Christopher Bell stands out, and Reddick and Blaney. These three guys did not qualify great, but definitely are good race car drivers. They will figure it out. Those teams will likely be moving forward. So it's like, but you can't be stuffing all these super high price guys together. So we have to look down for value. So we see Elliott's a little cheaper. Hocevar in 26 showed some speed in practice. He's a guy I'm interested in a lot. Same with Chastain. But these are the two guys that really stand out to me as, I mean, the most amazing value. We know what Bubba Wallace and Brad Keselowski can do. Brad's actually, if you look at his average finishing position, 10th. If he goes from 37th to 10th, he's going to have to be in your lineups. So these guys interest me a lot, along with Ryan Preece a lot. But Ryan Preece, 23rd average position, but even that would be plus 12. I think he could do a little better than that, maybe get himself inside the top 20. He would probably need to be in your starting lineup. SVG I find interesting just because their breaking does matter here. I find him he's kind of cruised around last year. He's trying to figure things out. And I think he's found he had his best oval finish. This isn't an oval, it's basically a fucking triangle. But I do believe that this is he could definitely move forward from there. And then Bowman's had some pretty good success here. Cindric starting right about where he normally goes. Eric Jones likes this track. Had a good qualifying effort. But do we get the upside moving forward? I don't really know. Um, you know, Chris Buescher showed some consistent speed and a good qualifying effort. So I'll have a little bit of shares of him. So let's go ahead and let's build some lineups. I mean, let's work on. I want to show you some different ways that I like to build my lineups. So as you can see, we obviously have the 6 spots for 50K, a little over 8,000 average for players. So that puts us like right in this range, like the Joey Logano range would be like the median point. So there's different ways of thinking. There's balanced builds, building like all guys, maybe between 9 and 6,500. There's stars and scrubs, trying to stuff 2 or 3 of the top guys and then going way down the charts. There's, all kinds of, it just based on, I like to, most people, like I said earlier, will click, let's say, on Denny Hamlin. Now, fuck, dude, Denny Hamlin is a beast, right? So let's just look at that. So what already that drops us down 600 average per player, and then they might be like, oh yeah, I want to run Reddick with them because these are the 2 hottest guys. So right now you're all the way down. So this is your average point now. So it's like if you want to get any of these guys, if you want to fit, Wallace or Kozlowski, let's say, oh, I want Bubba in there too. Now we're down to 6,900. I mean, so yeah, we could throw an Austin Dillon in, try to get it back up a little bit, Ryan Preece in, and then maybe Alex Bowman. Probably this is actually not a bad lineup, right? I still left 700 on the table too, so this might be a play. This could be the type of lineup. But let's just look at how we can be a little bit different, and let's not preconceive. Especially like if you're building 100, let's say you're building 100 lineups. Let's say you're building 50 lineups. Even if you're building 20, for your first 5 lineups, maybe try something like different. Let's start our starting point. Let's say, okay, what is it? Not my non-negotiable is Brad Keselowski, so we're gonna throw him right in. It's already putting up. So Ross Chastain also looked really sexy. So let's get him a little more balance. We talked about SGV's chances of moving forward. I want somebody that maybe is like mid-tier that possibly could move forward. Joey Logano. That team hasn't really shown an incredible amount of speed, but I've seen flashes of possibilities. Um, or we could just go right back and throw both Chastain and Keselowski in. Now we're sitting at 9,500. So this is interesting. 2 spots to go, right? So Carson Hocevar, that puts us at 10-3. Look who we can get into our lineup. Tyler Reddick. So I'm not leaving any money on the table. Will this possibly a duplicate lineup? Yes. So if we don't want the duplicate lineup, could throw Blaney in here. Maybe it's not duplicate anymore. I find something like a Christopher Bell even more impressive here. So this is definitely like a lineup that I would play. You could always even click out of that and go down to Ryan Preece, a little bit more savings. You can get out of Ross Chastain, maybe go down to like an Alec Bowman. So we got plenty of guys in the back, right? Take that out. Now we have 11-2 to work with. Put Carl Larson in. So see, I'm saying like I look at it like this, and I'm like, okay, the more money I have on the table, the more chances I have being unique. So a lot of people say fuck unique lineups. I think in NASCAR it's fairly important. I mean, you only have 39 drivers, okay? So let's compare that to a PGA contest where you're picking 6 golfers. There's 150 guys, man. I know a third of the field is just fucking dog shit, and you're probably no one's gonna play. They're all gonna be sub 1%. That 30 or 40 golfers each week. But in NASCAR, I think the money on the table makes a big difference. Okay. And not being afraid to be a little weird. Okay. So you're playing, if you're the more lineups you play, once in a while you can throw a fucking, like one of these shots. Like Daniel Dye is very interesting. So let's take Ryan Preece out. And let's put Daniel Dye in. This is a young kid from Florida. He's shown in the other series is that he can march forward from the back. So that leaves $2,700 on the table. You could click that right there. Or we can go to probably a little bit better of a play, throw Denny in. And now instead of Alex Bowman, look at this, 9,500. You can throw Chase Elliott in there. Look at that. Super, super. Look, I mean, you got Hamlin, Hocevar, Wallace, Elliott, and Keselowski. So this is kind of like what I'm talking about, just like different mindset of building. And before I click submit and I start building a lot of lineups, I do like this. I play around and I look, okay, where can I like really find some value? I mean, there's a few guys that I'm not interested in. I'm not interested in, even though he looked pretty good in the Xfinity race. He qualified 15th. I'm not super interested in Cole Custer. Not super interested in Gilliland, or even Austin Hill. In fact, I'd say Austin Hill is probably my hardest fade in this entire field. I'm just not going to be on Austin Hill. Um, John Hunter Nemechek's another one qualified in the. I mean, like he's going to have to move forward. I don't see him being in the top 5 in this race. Just for whatever reason or another, I just like that's gonna be one of my stands, that I'm going to be pretty bullish on. So, with that being said, I've shown you a lot. So, let's go ahead and submit one of these. All right. So William Byron's a guy that I just had bad luck with him all year. When I do put him in and he's right there, he's right there. Just something happens. He's just not had good luck. He's just talented young driver. But we're just getting to a point where I don't need to see 6th, 12th, 8th. Like it's just his win and his top 3 upside has just really not been great this season whatsoever. Starting to see signs of life from Briscoe. It's been improving slowly throughout the year. He's been in a Toyota. He had a lot of bad luck to start the year. He won the race last year. I think starting in 5th, he's not going to be super high owned, but I think just the fact that he won last year might elevate his ownership a lot. I think Gibbs would be a good pivot off of him a little bit. If he does follow through and maybe win this race or something, that could be really great. He's actually had a pretty good year, but I think your builds are going to have to probably start, most of them 1-2, Hamlin, Larson, Reddick, these guys. Maybe mix in some Blaney. You're going to be running Bell or Elliott with him, or Hocevar. And then obviously the Chastain, Wallace, Keselowski group will be very important. And then just sprinkling in some of these other guys that have some upside. Bowman showed he's done pretty well here. Jones has had speed. Suarez has got speed and been running well. But looking more at like Van Gisberg, Priest. Zane Smith always interests me. I don't know what it is about Zane Smith. I'm a sucker for Zane Smith. He tends to start in these mid-pack type things, and just sometimes he sneaks through and gets a 9th. He gets a 5th. It's he can do it. So you see 19th to 10th here, 53 points. He's in your lineup. I know that was a super speedway, but I did well here. 9th place. I think that was at Nashville. Um, the Jack League's 500, 5th, starting at 30th. You know, he's not a bad race car driver. He's shown promise. So Connor Zilic kind of just it's Connor Zilic doing Connor Zilic things. Since he's been up here, this has not been a great rookie year for him at all. In fact, he had a good finish in the All-Star race, but I mean, we're talking he hasn't even cracked the top 10 except for that race. So, and had a miserable 3 weeks. But I think a lot of people are jumping ship, and I know that people are excited about him, what he did, but it's he's up with the big boys now, so it's been a learning curve. So bit of a learning curve. He's got into a lot of trouble, wrecks, and just stupid mistakes, and the list goes on. So it's all learning experience. I do think the kid has a promising future, though. So there you have it. That is kind of what I'm looking at. So if you want to do a balanced lineup, let's real quick before we get off, let's throw a balanced lineup in. Let's do a Busher, Keselowski, Van Giesbergen, and Priest. And now we have 9,800. We can throw Christopher Bell and Chase Elliott in here. So like all these guys except for Busher have the opportunity to move forward. 800 on the table. Guarantee you this is a unique lineup. This is a not a sexy lineup, but it's a lineup that could win you first place in one of these GPP tournaments. So as far as that goes, so entering these races, so entering these contests, you got to really look at your bankroll. So the DFS mindset, outsider mindset, is essentially this is the amount of money I'm willing to say fuck it. If I lose it, it's not the end of the world. Okay. And that doesn't happen. When you play this many lineups, you're going to cash, you're going to cash, you're going to cash. I don't care about min cashes. I don't care about 38th place. I don't care about 106th place. I don't care about tripling my money. I don't care anything about that. I'm looking at the top of the leaderboard. Obviously, we're going for first. I mean, if you get second place, that's a good day. You get fourth place, it's probably still a good day. I still look at that as a disappointment. I wanna win. All right. Because you don't have to win very often. Like in these, if you are a GPP pro or GPP aficionado or just somebody that takes this shit semi seriously. I take this very seriously. Is what I do. I study and I study and I study and I study. I review winning lineups. I look at what they did. I think about all the different type of just what does it take to win, and that's just by playing upside chances to move forward. All right, chances to move forward, chances to get bonus points, chances to dominate a race. I'm looking for what ifs. Like, what if this happens? What if Denny goes out this week and dominates the race and leads a bunch of laps, wins the race? You're gonna have to have him, even if he leads 100 laps out of this race. Gonna probably have to have him in your lineup. So I kind of just build thinking about who is going to be up front a lot, mixing in with guys who have opportunity to have a good finish and also move forward. So if it's a guy that's in the back and he always finishes in the back, I don't look at that as huge upside. I look at that if he fucking somehow half the field wrecks and he finishes 16th and ends up in the winning lineup. So I just take that in the ass. It's not a big deal. But the moral story is play within your bankroll. All right. Say I'm gonna play $200 today, or I'm gonna play $100 or whatever it is, and structure it to where you can play a lot of lineups within that bankroll. And if top first place is $3 grand or $5 grand or even $2 grand, like that's worth going after, right? If your big goal is bigger than that, you got to start somewhere, right? So if you take down first place by playing a shit ton of lineups and you actually hit, that sets you up to, I don't increase my stakes a lot when I make a big hit. I'm more like withdraw a good chunk of it and go right back to work. I might throw a couple extra stabs in the bigger tournament or something to that effect, or maybe max entry the five or something like that. That's kind of like my mindset is I don't get too crazy in adjusting. I mean, if I go out and win the Millionaire Maker, you're not going to see me max entry the Millionaire Maker the following week. It's just, I don't know. I just like when you win, you fucking put it in your pocket, and you just keep fucking grinding because the wins come. The wins come. I'm happy with grinding my ass, making 10 grand here, 15 grand there, 3 grand here, 1,500 here. I love it. That's what I do. It's how I'm successful. It's why my ROI is absolutely phenomenal over the years. You do go through stretches. You go through stretches where you're not hitting big, you're not hitting, and it becomes a grind. It becomes frustrating. You get sweats. You lose out on some sweats, but it only takes one. That's my motto. That's my mantra. One lineup changes your whole fucking year. Okay. It does. It changes your whole year. That needs to be what I'm trying to, the main point of what I do here and why I created all this is to build a community that works together, learns from each other, and understands leverage, understands being different, understands that that's sometimes is what it takes. And oftentimes that's what it takes to take down one of these tournaments. Okay. You have to have a different angle. When things you don't have good plays don't win GPP tournaments. All right. Good lineup construction, good giving yourself opportunity, finding leverage. These are the type of things that win you GPP tournaments. Now, let's look at it like this. So, obviously, let's just for this shits and giggles purposes, Danny Hamlin's probably going to be over 40% owned. I would 100%, I think he's going to be right around there between four in the 40s somewhere. High 30s at the minimum. He's going to be super owned. So, if you pick him and he is in the winning lineup, you are fighting against a lot of people. When you're in a tournament with 100,000, let's say, people, and he's 40% owned, you still have 400,000 people to contend with the other 5 spots to win a GPP tournament. So let's say he's not in the optimal lineup and your leverage spot is 10%. Now you're only fighting against, did I say, I might have said that wrong, but you know what I meant. There's 100,000 people, you're fighting against 40,000. Whereas if you have a 10% or 10% guy, you'd be fighting against 10,000 people. Doesn't just, I don't know if it sounds like a big difference to you, but it really is. And if your leverage point is down, NASCAR, the ownership is way higher than others, so it's really imperative that you have all the right spots. So, but my moral of the story is in all DFS sports, lower owned, you're fighting against less people. If you can find a guy that's 3%, 8% owned, and he's in the optimal lineup, you have just literally shrunk the amount of people that you're vying for, which just gives you a higher chance of a bigger score. Okay. And the only score I care about is first place. I mean, I will I be happy with second place? Money wise, it's pretty good, especially in some of these bigger tournaments. I mean, I'm not going to be like super upset if I get second, but I'm like kind of like a Ricky Bobby mindset. If you ain't first, you're last. Okay, that's not entirely true. Oh, you could be third, 17th, fourth. Now, you could be a lot of other spots, but I want to win. I have a winner's mentality. Okay, and sometimes you have to do an awful lot of losing to win. Now most people don't have the stomach. They don't have the stones to fucking endure all of that losing, knowing that you could lose 50 bucks, lose 80, win 10, win 56, lose 100, win 300, lose 160, just grind, grind, grind. You're not really going much anywhere, kind of spinning your wheels. I don't give a shit about spinning my wheels because I know the wins are coming. I do because I've just been doing it a long time, and that's when you win 20 grand, it erases a lot of shit, and it just that's what makes your ROI. I have tracked my ROI over the years, and it is fairly inconsistent from year to year as far as how good, but it's always good because I hit every year. I hit things. So, but I've had years where it's just been through the roof. Have a life changing, year, and I've had years where I still did pretty good. But take down your shit, man. Stick to your guns. It's an outsider mentality. Leave money on the table, look for leverage, look for ways to be different. I'm looking forward to building this community up. I'm going to be putting a community message board out there. I'm going to be running this live stream on Saturday nights. I'm not consistent with the times that I'm doing shit right now just because of life. And this is all new. This is a new venture for me. So I've built this site. I have a lot of great ideas. I want to share the ideas. I want to learn from others. Consider myself a veteran seasoned player, and I'm pretty much got my shit down, but I would say that I always willing to listen to somebody who has good takes. And if you're just looking for picks like, hey, I'm going to go on to the DFS outsider and they're going to tell me exactly who to play. Well, a lot of sites do that shit, and you don't think that everybody and their fucking mother is playing those plays. I mean, that's your bag, and you want to go and jerk off with a bunch of other people, then and hope that one you might have the perfect combo in the needle in the haystack. That's your thing. So I'm here to be entertaining, fun. I have my partner Frankie. He's not on tonight, but he's got some business to take care of, if you know what I'm saying. So he's sharp. All right, he doesn't seem like a type of guy that is super sharp, but his mentality is fuck guys who are popular, and he's a straight up fade the most popular fucking guy. That's the way he plays, and he's had some pretty big successes, some big scores, and you'll find him entertaining. He's always into some nut job thing, so he films on location a lot. So when he does his little segment, who knows where he'll be? Could be at a strip club. He could be at the donut shop. He could be at his mom's having some rigatoni. I don't know. Never know what to expect from Frankie, but I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to. I'm gonna have my stream schedule set up here fairly soon. This is kind of just some practice runs. NFL. I'm super excited for NFL. All right, super crazy excited. I'm super excited for the PGA Major next week. In a few days here on, I believe, Monday or Tuesday, I'm going to also do a show, record it. I'm going to go live, but I'll save a recording and you can look at kind of my angles. I go deep metrics, really look at the course, look at like the style of players, course fit type players, and kind of like look for guys who maybe not do all the things necessary, but do some of the things really well that could carry them through and get them to the top of the leaderboard. And that's the same thing. The optimizers, all those things. They're gonna people tell you pump in this measure. Oh, it's a long open course and everybody's playing the bombers, and there's merit to that, but you got to mix in some sauce. You know what I'm saying? So thank you for tuning in. I'm looking forward to I've been pumping out articles. Please read my news articles. I talk about players. I talk about angles. I talk about strategy. I'm also going to be building a full on DFS Outsider Mindset video series talking about everything from bankroll management to how to find leverage, when chalk is good chalk, um, um, you name it. All right, just like metrics and how to be different, right? And just what opportunity means and what there's so many things like ownership, the ownership game. I'm not gonna get super into it. The ownership game is super important in DFS. And thank you for tuning in. Appreciate it. Love the support. Please check out my website. Like and subscribe to this video. I haven't asked you all video. If you made it this far, you got to give me some love. Click that like button. Click the subscribe. That little bell. Every time I go live, hopefully it'll give you a notification and you can come join me in the chat. You can ask me whatever. We can powwow. I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, the community message boards will be up here hopefully in time for NFL. And I'm going to be very hands on, very interactive with my peeps, the outsiders. To be an outsider, you just have to be willing to change your mindset and just really be a risk taker and a money maker. Risk takers, as that's you gotta have the balls, man. You gotta have the balls and the stones. You can't, you know. I don't want you to come on here and you have a bad week just because you tuned into me and you did some of my things. I'm not telling you you're going to be a winner in a week. I'm telling you that if you stick to your guns, you think about my mindset, even if you just apply it to what you do, it's going to be life changing for you in the long run because you are going to get bigger scores. So thank you again. Go to my website, thedfsoutsider.com. And if you feel really, really generous, I have a Ko-Fi on there. I'm going to, for my monthly Ko-Fi gifters, I am going to I'll get you on an email list and I'll answer personalized questions from there. I'll be probably doing an exclusive article for them, but all that stuff's in the works. I'm excited. I listen. I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm ready to make some money. I'm ready to have some fun. I'm super excited about the major next week. I'm excited about this week at Pocono. Um, it's just a fun track to watch. I'm excited for the NFL. I'm so excited. There's a lot of movement going on, just a lot of teams that I'm just like, I'm high on some teams that some people are not talking about. And I think there's some hype on some teams that I just think are going to give you the same shit that they always do. So appreciate it. And just remember, it only takes. See ya. Thanks for coming in.